It's the weekend warm-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Happy Friday to everybody. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. We're coming to you from our homes, and we will be here with you for the next couple of hours talking local, regional, and national sports topics. And excited to do so. Wade, welcome to the party.
Good to be with you, Mo, and I know we're in store for a big show because we got Backwards Cap Mo ready to rock and roll today. It's Friday. The vibes are off the charts. It is going to be an electric weekend.
Time to get down to business, man. Absolutely.
Ain't no doubt.
Yeah. Hey, there's so much going on, man. It's time to get to work. We've got in the second hour, and I'm really excited about this. We are going to be joined by Tennessee State University hockey coach DUANTE Abercrombie. TSU hockey was in the news earlier this week, and we'll talk more about that when we get Coach Abercrombie on. But this is really an exciting venture that they are looking at undertaking over there, and I'm really excited to get some firsthand news and knowledge on Tennessee State hockey. So we're going to be checking in with Coach Abercrombie here in the second hour. In the second segment, we will be touching base with Nashville Sounds play-by-play announcer Jeff Hem. The Sounds get going here in about 4.5 hours, actually, over at First Horizon Park as they take on the oxymoronic Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp in their season opener over at First Horizon. So looking forward to talking to Jeff about what the 2025 Sounds are looking like here on opening day and what the Milwaukee Brewers are thinking, different stuff like that. It's always fun when we get Jeff on. So a couple of great guests, a lot more great stuff to get into as well. Major League Baseball officially opened yesterday. Not a great finish out in San Diego for a certain team. Pretty good day in Houston for another team. We will get into all of that and more. Plenty of hoops to talk about. Plenty of hoops, both at the collegiate and at the professional level. We got some college football notes to delve into as well. And again, it is the weekend warm-up. We'll get you ready for the weekend. And man, it is action-packed. If you are a sports fan, you're probably going to wind up leaving something out this weekend because there is so much going on. But we're gonna try to get you headed in the right direction for tonight, tomorrow, and Sunday as we kind of get you ready for what's out there. So, fun show. Looking forward to it. Wade, are we ready?
I think so, partner. Let's get this thing cranked up.
Let's get this party started with yesterday's results and this weekend schedule on the rundown.
This is the rundown.
Buckle up, boys and girls. It's time for the Friday rundown, and we kick things off with baseball scores from Thursday night. Starting us off, it was Whitney Young, Illinois, defeating Battle Creek 5-3. Blackman picks up a 5-3 win versus Southside Selma out of Alabama. It was a 4-2 victory for Ezell Harding over Cane Ridge. Collinwood took care of Culleoka 7-4. Montgomery Central picked up a 5-4 win versus Dixon County. It was Centennial 8, Franklin 5. Hampshire with a 12-8 victory over Whites Creek. Hartselle topping Clarksville, that's Hartselle, Alabama, winning that one 4-2. Gallatin with a 12-4 win over Kirkwood. Liberty Creek downing Springfield 10-4. Brooks, Alabama takes care of Loretto 11-5. Hope, Illinois with a 4-0 win versus Middle Tennessee Christian. More scores here on the baseball diamond. Gulliver Prep, Florida defeating Oakland 3-2. CPA blanking Pope John Paul II 10-0. It was Mount Pleasant 8, Richland 6. James Clemens out of Alabama with a 12-6 win versus Riverdale. Stewart's Creek with a 4-1 win versus Rockvale. Zion Christian down Santa Fe 9-4. Siegel defeats Mundelein, Illinois. That is a 4-1 final for Siegel. Smyrna took care of the father-in-law's alma mater, St. Ignatius, yesterday. St. Ignatius, Ohio, not too strong for the Bulldogs. 9-2 was your final. Sorry, Pops. 13-0 was your score as Rossview defeats Stanhope Elmore out of Alabama. Murfreesboro Central Magnet with a 6-0 win versus Tellico Plains. Watertown took care of DeKalb County 13-7. And capping your baseball scores yesterday, Creekwood besting West Creek 4-3.
In softball action on Thursday, we had Battle Creek with an 18-15 victory over Laverne. It was Blackman 10, Moline out of Illinois 1. Clarksville Christian takes a doubleheader from Riverside Christian 10-3 and 14-2. Joe Burns blanks Dobbins Bennett 5-0. Eagleville blanks Moore County 10-0. Station Camp blanks Gallatin 3-0. Mount Pleasant doubles up Loretto. Big win for the for the Tigers. There we go. Mount Pleasant 6, Loretto 3. Richland with a 10-0 victory over Culleoka. It was Glenbrook North out of Illinois 8, Riverdale 0. Siegel and Rockvale played to a scoreless deadlock. Interesting there. Zion Christian 21, South Haven Christian 3. Summertown with a 7-3 win over Lewis County. It was Westmoreland 7, East Robertson 5. On the pitch, boys soccer action from Thursday. Richland and Battle Creek played to a 3-3 draw. Franklin Christian and Giles County played to a 2-2 draw. Columbia Central with a 2-0 win over Lincoln County. It was Murfreesboro Central 5, Providence Christian 0. Warren County edges Spring Hill 1-0, and Station Camp with a 9-0 victory over White House. Girls flag football from Thursday. Laverne with a 14-6 win over Riverdale. Riverdale comes back with a 31-0 win over Smyrna. No Smyrna Laverne score. Interesting. We'll talk about this one more later in the show, but Belmont goes on the road, picks up a 90-45 win over James Madison in the WBIT, and advances to the semifinals of that tournament with that victory. On the ice, it was the St. Louis Blues 3. The Predators on Jelly Roll bobblehead night come up short. 3-2 the final there as St. Louis gets out with the win. And in the association, and we'll be talking more about this in a bit as well, Oklahoma City with a 125-104 win over Memphis.
Let's tap into tonight's schedule. Well, I should say today's schedule, because East Robertson and Shelbyville got it on at 11 a.m. this morning. Christian Community was at Zion Christian at noon today. 4 p.m. start times for Murfreesboro Central Magnet taking on Greenback, and Lakeside, Alabama is on the road at Providence Christian. At 4:30, you can catch Loretto at Brooks, Alabama. Clarksville Academy will meet Lincoln County at that same time, and also University School of Nashville will travel to Mount Juliet Christian. 5 o'clock showdowns for Joe Byrne at Portland and Santa Fe at Houston County. That brings us up to 6 o'clock, where Soddy Daisy will meet Blackman. Fayetteville will travel to Hampshire. McGavock is on the road at Laverne. Lawson traveling to Ravenwood. Lewis County will be on the road at Smyrna. Rockvale visiting Stewart's Creek this evening. Summertown will host Marshall County tonight at 6. At 6:30 this evening, you can catch Independence at Columbia. Mount Pleasant on the road at Eagleville. You can also see Clarksville Northeast at Gallatin. Page at Green Hill. Greenbrier's on the road at Harpeth. Brentwood is on the road at John Overton. Other 6:30 start times include McCauley at Middle Tennessee Christian. Mount Juliet, it will be on the road at Nolensville. Tees Valley, Ohio will meet Oakland at 6:30. Marion Catholic, Illinois is on the road at Providence Christian. Beaver, Ohio is at Riverdale at 6:30. South Elgin, Illinois is at Siegel. And capping your 6:30 start times tonight, Springfield is at White House Heritage.
At 7 o'clock tonight, Clarksville Northwest goes to Forest. Also, White House is at Hendersonville. Clarksville Academy faces St. Peter's Prep out of New Jersey. And Dixon County is at Sycamore at 7. No start time available for Father Ryan at Centennial today. Softball, another day game as Collierville and Smyrna faced off. 2 o'clock start just a couple minutes ago. Floyd Central out of Indiana and Stewart's Creek. At 4, Overton travels to Brentwood Academy. Also, Baylor and Stewart's Creek will face off. 5 o'clock starts for Westmoreland at Cannon County. Battle Creek at Culleoka. At 5:30, Eagleville travels to Fayetteville. Murfreesboro Central is at Laverne. At 6, Creekwood faces Blackman. Mount Pleasant goes to Richland at 6. Donaldson Christian takes on Smyrna at 6. And no times available for either of these Greenbrier matchups as the Lady Bobcats take on Tazewell of Virginia and Dobbins Bennett at some point today. Boys soccer action this evening at 6 o'clock. Richland travels to Loretto. Also at 6, Smyrna hosts Siegel. Franklin Classical is at Zion Christian at 6. And at 7, Portland is at Gallatin. 6:39, NCAA Sweet 16 matchup in Indianapolis. It's number 3 seed Kentucky and number 2 seed Tennessee. You can see it on WTBS. And Major League Baseball, it's a 7:10 start on Apple TV for the second game of the series between the New York Mets and the host Houston Astros. At 8:40, Atlanta continues its series at San Diego. You can see that one on FanDuel Sports.
That brings us into Saturday. Baseball action cranking up at 9 a.m. as Clarksville Academy will meet Spain Park out of Alabama. At 10 a.m., it'll be Murfreesboro Central Magnet versus Apostolic Christian. Is that in Tennessee, Mo? I'm assuming so.
I guess. I'm not familiar with it. But,
to be determined. I'm unfamiliar with their game. We'll see. But at 10 a.m., Central Magnet.
We may owe them an apology.
Absolutely. 11:30, it'll be Clarksville Academy versus Fairview. Not the Yellow Jackets here in Tennessee, but Fairview, Alabama, again at 11:30. At noon, Creekwood is on the road at CPA. Franklin will travel to Innsworth. Other noon start times include Murfreesboro Central Magnet taking on Fulton. Gordonsville will be at Good Pasture. That game is actually part of a doubleheader on Saturday. Friendship Christian is on the road at Upperman, and Clarksville Christian is at Zion Christian. 12:30 start times now for Franklin County versus Blackman. St. Ignatius, but Illinois, different St. Ignatius. They roll deep, though, versus Oakland, again, at 12:30 start time there. Soddy Daisy versus Providence Christian. Gibbs will be at University School of Nashville to cap your 12:30 start times. At 1 o'clock, Mount Juliet will be at Lipscomb Academy. At 1:30, you can catch Battle Creek at Grace Christian Franklin. Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio will be at Middle Tennessee Christian. At 2 o'clock start times now, Clarksville Northwest at Tullahoma. Napoleon, Ohio is at Siegel. Bellbrook, Ohio is at Smyrna. 4 p.m. showdown for Richland, who makes a short trip up to Marshall County to meet the Forest Rockets. At 4:30, it'll be Montgomery Central at Dixon County, and Kirkwood is at White House Heritage. Coming down the stretch for Saturday baseball, Huntsville, Alabama is at Lawrence County. That game is set to begin at 6 p.m. Also at 6, Soddy Daisy at Riverdale. And Eagleville is set to host meet Newton Falls, Ohio, but we don't have a start time available to us at this moment.
Saturday softball, bright and early, 8 o'clock. Bedford North Lawrence out of Indiana. It's Damon Bailey's alma mater, by the way. Taking on Coffee County. 12 noon start for Summertown and Wayne County. Also, Greenbrier with a couple of matchups. No times for either of them. It's Greenbrier and Greenville, and it's Greenbrier and Central. Knoxville Central, maybe? Not sure. Maybe it's somebody Central or Central somebody. 4 o'clock, Mount Juliet faces Lincoln County tomorrow. Boys soccer action tomorrow. Another early bird special as Hume Fogg travels to Giles County for a 9 o'clock start, followed at 12 o'clock by Hillsborough, Giles County. Boy, those Bobcats are going to be tired, Wade, tomorrow.
Yeah, going to show off their legs. Those games all part of the Southern Tennessee Soccer Showcase. Kind of an aggregate tournament. We'll crown a victor at the end. We'll see how it shapes up. But, a lot of action down in P-Town this weekend.
Sumner County girls flag football getting going tomorrow at 9 o'clock with Station Camp in Gallatin. Also at 9 o'clock, White House is at Liberty Creek. That's followed by Gallatin at Liberty Creek at 10. White House and Station Camp at 10. They're playing on two fields over at Liberty Creek is what it looks like. Also, Portland and Hendersonville will play at 11. Beach plays Westmoreland at 11. Beach plays Hendersonville at 12. And Portland plays Westmoreland at 12. Again, Sumner County girls flag football. A lot of action tomorrow. Boys lacrosse action. 4 o'clock Saturday. Gibbs is at Green Hill. NCAA women's basketball action of local interest at 2:30 p.m. tomorrow afternoon. It's Tennessee and Texas in the Birmingham 3 region. Again, that's a 2 o'clock tip. You can see it on ABC. On the ice tomorrow, it's the Vegas Golden Knights coming to Bridgestone, taking on the Nashville Predators. That's a 5:30 start. You can see it on FanDuel Sports. Saturday baseball, Mets at Astros, 6:15. Braves Padres, 6:15. Both scheduled to be on Fox. Check your local listings. 7 o'clock tomorrow night on FanDuel Sports, it'll be the Los Angeles Lakers coming to Bridgestone Arena. No, coming to the FedEx Arena, FedEx Forum down in Memphis, taking on the Memphis Grizzlies. There's not a change in venue in that, but there is a change. We'll get to that more in a minute. But again, the Lakers are at the Grizzlies 7 o'clock tomorrow. You can see it on FanDuel Sports. Out at Geodis Park, 7:30 tomorrow night. FC Cincinnati comes to town, taking on the Nashville Soccer Club. The boys in gold, looking for their 4th straight win. You can see it on Apple TV. And on Sunday, it's a night game, the Braves and Padres. It's a 6:10 first pitch. You can see it on ESPN. Ladies and gentlemen, that is your rundown. Your top story brought to you by Piggly Wiggly in Neely's Mill in Columbia. Be sure and check out their delicious daily deli lunch options available from 11 a.m. until 6 p.m. Also, their hand-cut meats, and everything is cost plus 10% at the cash register. Piggly Wiggly, Neely's Mill, Columbia, bringing you our top story. Wade, how stunned were you to hear earlier today? I mean, we had run of show about completed, basically, when the news comes out of Memphis that the 44-29 Memphis Grizzlies, that's 73 games, good for 5th in the Western Conference, are making a coaching change. Taylor Jenkins, after 5 years and 73 games, is no longer at the top of that team.
I mean, it was a stunner to say the least, not just here in the mid-state, not just in Memphis, but across the association. When Shams drops the bomb, everybody kind of was like, whoa, what just happened here? And it was pretty crazy. And man, this is certainly a strategy that the Grizzlies are attacking here. But man, the timing of this, I'm struggling to come up with a parallel or a recent example of a coach of a team that's played, record-wise at least, this well to be dismissed this late in the season. It is certainly a stunner in terms of timing, if nothing else.
Again, they're 44-29. They are tied with the Lakers, who come to town tomorrow night, and more on the Lakers later in this show as well, because they didn't have to be tied. There's got to be something we don't know, and that's certainly a possibility, but it doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense.
The best, I heard was our good friends over in Memphis talking about it on the drive-in today. Taylor Jenkins, you would think, given the timing and given the record, that there is kind of something amiss, and maybe that does come out. But Taylor Jenkins, the term Boy Scout was used. I mean, he is about as squeaky clean about as you can imagine. So, we're not looking like a situation that we saw in Boston recently. I mean, by all accounts, this appears to be strictly a basketball move. And the guys over in Memphis kind of summed it up best, too. It kind of just feels like, whether it was last night, the game tied 99-99, and then you lose by nearly 20, was it the front office just finally realized what I think a lot of folks had kind of known or been whispering steadily for the last couple of months in Memphis, is they're just not that good. And with Jenkins at the helm, there's been questions all year about the rotation. There's been questions about his late game execution, and they've been beating some teams, just not anybody of real consequence. And when you get into the playoffs, Chris Vernon said it best, you're going to be matched up. You know where to hide in the playoffs, right? So they're going to get paired with somebody who can do some damage. And, it is an odd situation. Feels like he probably was going to get canned in the offseason. I'm like you. I don't necessarily know why you make the move now, but apparently the powers that be thought it was time to go.
Yeah, and the thing about making the move right now, if you are a playoff team, does this make you better for the playoffs?
You could argue. I mean, I could make you a decent case. The rotations and the late game execution for Jenkins is I'm not going to say it's been atrocious, but it's been pretty bad. And there were a couple of quote unquote smart Laker reporters, some real insiders that kind of said, "Man, I was looking forward to going up against Taylor Jenkins in the first round of the playoffs, perhaps." So that kind of speaks to the level we're talking about here. Now, I mean, we're not talking about anything crazy. They're never going to win the West. There's really logistically only probably one, maybe two teams that are going to come out of the West this year. So, I mean, that buys you a round perhaps if you're Memphis. And I guess maybe that's the ultimate take home is Taylor Jenkins felt like he had squeezed about as much potential of that team last year, notwithstanding when the team was just ravaged by injuries. He'd squeezed almost as much juice as he could, and now it's kind of maybe up to that next person to, if you value yourself or fancy yourself as a big dog franchise, to make the next leap.
Again, 5 years and 73 games. I mean, I don't know where exactly that sits in terms of longest tenures in the NBA. Maybe it was just time for a change. Assistant Tomas Isalo has been named the interim coach. He's been with the team for the past 2 years. There will be more said about this as the weekend progresses, I'm sure, and I'm interested to hear what is said. So, but Taylor Jenkins is out again after 5 full seasons and most of a sixth as coach of the Memphis Grizzlies. Let's take a break here on the weekend warm-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back, we will be joined by Nashville Sounds play-by-play announcer Jeff Hem, getting us ready for tonight's home opener out at First Horizon Park between the Sounds and the Jumbo Shrimp out of Jacksonville. Stay tuned.
Step into the Lionel retail store at Opry Mills, Nashville, and you'll be captivated by all the magic of the 123-year history of Lionel trains. Whether you're already a train enthusiast or just getting started, Lionel will energize your love for trains. NASCAR fan? Come check out your local Lionel station to learn all there is to know about model trains and die-cast NASCAR collectibles. Visit nashville.lionel.com or call 615-455-9399.
Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
You're seeing the signs too, right?
What signs?
The weekend warm-up continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely, and we have joining us from the press box at First Horizon Park, the voice of the Nashville Sounds, among other things, Jeff Hem.
Hi, fellas.
Yeah.
opening
What's
day.
going on? When last we saw you, you were alongside Drew Maddox bringing us the Loretto State Championship game last weekend.
That was quite a game, was it not?
That was quite a game. The only overtime matchup of the championship Saturday, and heck of a team, heck of a matchup. Alcoa going for their third straight gold ball. Loretto going for an undefeated season. The Mustangs coming out on top in overtime. I mean, that's got to be a great game to work, Jeff.
That was, I mean, I can't believe I got paid to sit there and get to do that game. That was so much fun. They give out the assignments, and Matthew Gillespie does a great job putting that broadcaster puzzle together at the TSSAA, and he tries to reach out and ask for everybody's availability, and you're never exactly sure which games you're going to get assigned, and obviously everybody's hoping for good games, and man, did Drew and I get fortunate with that game. When I found out I was getting 2A, I thought, okay, there's a really good chance that this could be Loretto and Alcoa, and it turned out to be that, and then it turned out to be an even better game than I think people could have predicted. So those are the ones where you're just thrilled to be along for the ride. That's not working when you get to call a game like that. That's just a privilege to be there. So that was a pretty good way to wrap up my basketball broadcast season, no doubt.
I think that was a little bit better game than Greg Tips would have liked. They kind of had that thing under control until they didn't. But yeah, I think they ultimately got the outcome that he wanted. So heck of a season for the Mustangs. So now you're swinging into baseball.
That's right. It's here. Let's go. Tonight's the night. It's unbelievable that it's already starting the 10th season at First Horizon Park. It's just it's crazy how the time flies, and I know that's how life is. It's that way in all components of life with how the time flies, but I can still remember how cold I was at the groundbreaking in 2014.
Oh God, it was so cold.
It was so cold.
It was so cold.
And we were standing out in what I think now is center field here along a patch of 4th Street that's now no longer a street. It's a ball field. But it just, wondering how are the next 14 months going to go, and the ballpark opening, and now you blink and here it is with 10 seasons. So we're going to have a lot of fun this year celebrating different components of that. We're also going to celebrate 20 years of the 2005 Pacific Coast League champions, which is still the city of Nashville's last professional sports championship by anybody. And which is just crazy to think about too. So we'll have some fun remembering that Sounds team. And along the way, we will watch some good ball club on the field and see some guys go up to the big leagues and hopefully help what should be another really good Brewers team this year at the major league level.
You mentioned 10 years and Doug Scopel in the front office of the Sounds. I saw a post from him earlier today. 10 years at the new ballpark.
That's right. Yeah.
It's kind of funny, but I mean, to a large number of folks in this area, yeah, it's still the new ballpark relative to Herschel Greer. So
I still think of it as new, and I've worked every season here. It doesn't feel like it's 10 years old. I think that speaks to Doug and his operations team of how they maintain this place, for one thing. Secondly, I think just with the volume of people who still keep moving here, I come across people almost every day where they find out where I work or what I do, and they're like, oh, yeah, I got to get to a game. I haven't been to a game there yet. Now, some of them maybe have not lived here the full 10 years, but there are still people who are coming to this ballpark for the very first time. I think part of my brain thinks, well, it's been here for 10 years. Everybody's been here by now, but that's not the case. So that part of it feels new. And then it's as popular as it's ever been. I mean, the attendance the last several years just is as high as it's been. So it continues to be a great success. Germantown as an area continues to grow. So in that ways, it does feel very new still, even though it's been 10 seasons now.
And Jeff, obviously, let's get it out of the way early. You guys start off with a bang, of course. Friday fireworks. I mean, come on. I mean, that's
got to do it on a Friday
season, right?
Got to do it. Got to do it on a Friday.
Get things cranked up there. And then as you guys kind of tip into the season, you made a great point when you talk about just being available. The one thing I'm always impressed by the Sounds game is the dollar to entertainment ratio. You guys have found that sweet spot. In this city, it is almost impossible to find better bang for your buck. You get to watch great baseball, of course. That's just in some ways a nice perk, but for folks that just want to get out of the house or anything, you won't find a better deal in town, I feel like.
Well, thank you for saying that. I agree with you. As partial and biased as I am, admittedly, it's nice to hear that from you, because that's the goal. That's the goal every year. It's easy to say we want to have something for everybody. It's another thing to make sure that you do have that. And whether it's the kids' wiffle ball field that went up a couple of years ago, whether it's new food items, there are going to be some new promotions this year. Some of the standbys are going to keep going, like the Friday fireworks and the Throwback Thursdays and things like that. But this front office group here is always asking itself in the off season, what could we improve? What could we do differently? What haven't we done? How can we do what we did a few years ago, but better? So we want it to feel new for the fan, in the ways that we can control, which are off of the field with promotions and food and experience and things for everybody to do. So that it's great to hear folks like you say that, because that is the goal. And that's why I think it doesn't feel like it's been 10 seasons. And that's why I think it continues to be so popular, is that it seems like a lot of people echo what you just said, and they keep coming back, or like I said, they haven't been here yet, or they have a good first impression and then they come back a few more times. So we try to have something for everybody, and it's great to hear when that is the case from the fans' perspective, because that is always the goal.
I can sell you guys on the entertainment factor all day long. But with that being said, Jeff, give us kind of a rundown. What are your thoughts? What are your kind of, expectations, or what do you see out of this bunch as it currently sits?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's a popular question we get all the time this year. Like, how good's the team going to be? What do they look like? And my answer this time of year, the last few years, I think, has been a copy and paste, because the Brewers win at the major league level. Even in years where going in, the analysts and the experts wonder, well, you don't have Corbin Burns. How's it going to go? You don't have Blake Thomas. How's it going to go? And they just keep winning, in part because they draft and develop really well. And secondly, they are very good at identifying players who are not in their organization, who they go get when they become available or they make them available. So I have no reason to think this year's team won't be strong, because that's just what the Brewers typically do at AAA, because they need those guys at the major league level. This time last year, Tobias Myers was a major league unknown. He had not had a great season the year prior in his first year in the Brewers organization. He'd had a good year, but not a great year. He'd already been at AAA with a few other organizations, and it had not gone well. By the end of last year, he was starting a playoff game for the Brewers after getting off to a terrific start with the Sounds and spending most of the rest of the year in Milwaukee. That's just one example of a find by the Brewers, and then they tweak a couple of things with a particular player. The player buys in, and they take off with some success. So I'm sure we'll see more of that this year with various Sounds. There are a large number of guys back on this team to start who at least were on this roster a little bit last year. Pitching, Logan Henderson, Jacob Mizorowski, Carlos Rodriguez, Craig Yoho, all very highly regarded young arms. The position player group is a little bit newer as far as number of guys who were here last year. There aren't many. It's a lot of newer names on that front. That's in part because Isaac Collins made the Brewers opening day roster. Tyler Black is dealing with an injury. And then yesterday, as part of some transactions, Brewer Hicklin was designated for assignment. So it remains to be seen if Hicklin does end up as a Sound or if somebody claims him. So those are three guys that could have been here that aren't. But pitching-wise, it's a lot of familiar names. And the Brewers have more coming. Their AA roster looks like it's going to be filled on that position player front with a lot of prospects. So, again, even if a fan comes in tonight and doesn't know a ton of names necessarily, the track record, I think, speaks for itself that this should be a pretty strong season for the Sounds on the field.
Jeff Ham, Nashville Sounds play-by-play announcer, joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. And Jeff, as I was looking at the roster, you hit on a couple of things that kind of jumped out at me. A number, like you said, of guys that were here in 24, and 6 guys who are on the Brewers 40-man roster. You mentioned Rodriguez, also pitcher Grant Wolfram, Grant Anderson, Logan Henderson are on the 40. Henderson is pretty intriguing. Pitched at 3 different levels last year in the Brewers system. So I'm intrigued by that situation with him. And then a couple of hitters, Caleb Durbin and Andrew Monasterio. Monasterio spent a bunch of time with Milwaukee last year, are both on the 40-man. So you've got some guys that are pretty highly regarded and some other guys that aren't on the 40-man but are pretty highly regarded as well. Looking at you, Wes Clark. So bunch of guys with some experience in the organization and some reputation.
Yeah, and I think, I'm filling out my book now and looking at last year's numbers for some of these newcomers. This team's going to steal some bases. There are a number of 20 and 30 stolen base guys on this position player group to start the year. One of them, you mentioned, Caleb Durbin. He is very highly regarded. Came over along with Nestor Cortez from the Yankees when the Brewers traded Devin Williams. And Durbin just missed out on making that opening day roster at the big league level. So he is certainly a guy to keep an eye on down here. I'm looking forward to watching him play because of the resume. And then Brewers manager Pat Murphy talked about Durbin in glowing terms in spring training about just what the potential is, the type of ball player he is, how he plays the game. And as of now, he's batting leadoff tonight. And I think one of many guys who can steal some bases on this team too. So that could be run creation, could be a fun thing to watch. While guys like you mentioned, Wes Clark can bop some home runs. There's also some wheels on this team.
We like the small ball. Absolutely. Interesting couple of guys on this roster. One I didn't realize was here last year, but a couple of guys with some local ties. Sam McWilliams, who played his high school ball, at Beach, is on the roster for opening day, and former Clarksville High School outfielder Garrett Spain is on the roster as well. And I don't know if Garrett's going to be driving back and forth from Clarksville or not, but I imagine Sam can stay at or close to home. Got to be fun for both those guys to be here.
No doubt. It's you know how this works, but it's always worth reminding people for kind of on the from a casual fan standpoint. The Sounds don't make the roster, the Brewers do, and these guys are drafted and signed and acquired from all over, and affiliates are all over, and there's randomness isn't the right word, but it's sometimes from a player's standpoint, they don't pick the organization they might get drafted by, or sometimes that trades for them, and then where does that team happen to have affiliates? So when you get anybody with a local connection, it's not common, and it's really special for them to get that opportunity because they don't know how long they're going to be here. And so for a guy like Sam McWilliams or for Garrett Spain, I haven't gotten caught up with Garrett yet, but I talked to Sam the other day. Well, he's got a lot of family and friends still in Middle Tennessee. He's going to have a large following in the stands, I think, quite a bit early in the year, especially. I would imagine the same is going to be similar for Garrett. But yeah, it's not by design necessarily. It just kind of happens that way sometimes because other guys, you'll talk to them and they'll be like, oh, I'm going to have some family come see us when we go to Jacksonville, because that's as close as I get to my home wherever we go. And they're like 4 or 5 hours away from home. So when you get a guy on the roster who gets to play in his backyard, that's a pretty rare and cool thing.
And no doubt. Carlos Rodriguez getting the start tonight. Again, speaking of highly regarded arms in the Brewers organization, he would be one of those.
He would. He got a very brief taste of the big leagues last year. I know he didn't like how it went. He got a couple of starts up there and then was with the Sounds the rest of the year. So I am sure he is itching to get a season underway and try to get himself back up to the Brewers, where I know he feels like, didn't go like terribly, but I know he was not he did not feel like his debut and the couple of starts after that were indicative of what he can do. And I'm sure the Brewers know that too. So I'm sure he's looking forward to getting it underway. And I believe Logan Henderson and then Jacob Mizorowski are going to start the next 2 games respectively. So you go, high pedigree prospect ABC right out of the gate. Pretty cool to have that in the rotation to start a season. Jacksonville. And I should note, Jacksonville, you talk about local ties or Sounds ties. Jansen Junk, our old pal, is going to start Jacksonville. Brian Navarretto, our old pal at catcher the last couple of years for the Sounds, is with Jacksonville now. And Jacksonville's manager is David Carpenter, the former Brave, who played for the Sounds in 19 when we were with the Rangers. So on the other side, we got 3 friends going up against the Sounds this weekend too. And I know all 3 of those guys are happy to be back in the ballpark, even if they're on the other side now.
We had the chance to talk to Craig Yoho last year, and we talked about guys playing at multiple levels. He was another one of those that played at 3 different levels in the Brewers organization last year, and moved pretty quickly. And with his velo, that kind of helps explain some of that. What is it that they're looking for out of him before he moves again?
I think he is a perfect example of what happens a lot at AAA. Sometimes it's just not your time yet, because he almost made that team. And when we were, you're following news out of Arizona as spring training is unfolding, and certain names start to pick up a little steam as far as their potential for making the big league opening day roster. His name was one of those. It would not be a shock at all if he got up to Milwaukee even relatively soon. I think Mizorowski's in that group. Logan Henderson is in that group. Thrilled that Chad Patrick did make their opening day roster up there. Has not gotten in yet. They're off today, but so happy for Chad. He's so well deserving based on the season he had. So there's so many arms for the Brewers, and they just don't have room for everybody right now. But they know they will, and guys are going to move up and down, and Yoho is definitely in that category, especially with the repertoire and the fact that he's a reliever. Opportunity could come fairly quickly. His stuff is just nasty. His changeup is just gross. The way it moves, it gets identified by the Statcast as a left-handed curveball. The way it moves, his changeup for a righty moves in a way that right-handed changeups are not supposed to move. It's pretty nasty.
So the right-hander is throwing a left-handed curveball, huh?
That's what the computers think. I don't know if you know this, but the computers aren't always right. In our AI and analytics-driven world, sometimes the player can trick the computer.
Yeah. Speaking of computers, Jeff, any changes to ABS this time around, or is it going to be the same format?
The challenge system's in place every game. So the second half of last year, they went from 3 challenges to 2. They're continuing with the 2. I think they want to get a little bit more data and feedback on number of challenges and success rate using 2 instead of 3. So we will have 2 challenges, but they're not, it's the challenge system every game. They're not doing what they did a couple years ago where the first 3 games of a series are the full ABS, back half is the challenge. It's challenge system all the time. That certainly seems to be the one that is likeliest to make it to the major league level, like they experimented with it in spring training. Otherwise, a lot of the there's no real major rule changes from last year to this year, and they're continuing the challenge system with 2.
Are you hearing any kind of timetable for ABS to make the step to the majors, or are we still being resistant to that?
I'm not, but honestly, I'm not. I haven't really asked. I wouldn't be surprised if it were next year. I think Major League Baseball liked introducing it at spring training. They've had it at AAA. So if you add it, let's say next year, for example, you've got a couple of years worth of AAA players who are getting to the major leagues, and it's not brand new. Spring training guys got familiar with it. If I'm Major League Baseball, I want it to be the least disruptive as possible.
Right.
And you do that by having as many players as possible familiar with it before you actually get that plane in the air. So it would not surprise me if next year they went to it. I have nothing to base that off of other than just like general trend of the way it seems to be going and the way that the other things like the shifts and other things they've tried at the minor league level and then brought to the major league level, it's usually within a year or two of when they first experimented, presuming that it goes well. And a lot of the things that they've done have gone really well. I give Major League Baseball credit in that regard. A lot of what they've tried down here has worked well for what they're trying to accomplish. And I love the challenge system. And so if someone at that level up there were asking me or players down here, it gets rave reviews down here because it's a great combination of all the factors that you want. You keep the human element. There's some drama to it. There's some strategy to it. It proves how good the umpires are most of the time. They're right. So there's nothing not to like as far as I'm concerned. But when it actually would go to Major League Baseball, I don't know. But it wouldn't shock me if they expanded it, next year.
Jeff Hem, play-by-play announcer for the Nashville Sounds, joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. The Sounds are at home tonight, tomorrow night, and Sunday afternoon. That's 6:35, 6:35, and 2:05 against, again, the oxymoronic Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp. Off on Monday before a 6-game series in Lawrenceville, Georgia, taking on Gwinnett. And, Jeff, I know you're fired up about that 10 o'clock start on Wednesday morning.
You didn't say Stripers with 1 P. I thought for sure you.
I figured it had finally caught hold. I figured everybody knew. Yeah, the Gwinnett. Yeah, I'll let you. But yeah,
we've got a few different start times in that Gwinnett series.
4
I'm with the late morning start because I'm presuming that means it's some sort of a kids' day for local schools, which means there's a lot of bodies in the ballpark, which means a good atmosphere. So I got no problem with that if that's the situation. And then you got find dinner somewhere that night in Lawrenceville, Georgia. I'm open to suggestions from people.
I'm not sure how close Lawrenceville is, but if you can make it to Papado's, that would be my spot. It's over off 75. Y'all are over off 85, I think.
I've had that before. Maybe that sounds really familiar to me. Maybe they had it in the press box one time. That restaurant name sounds familiar. I'll work on it.
You should.
A little homework for you.
Yeah.
No doubt. Jeff, as always, we appreciate you and look forward to catching up with you here maybe next Friday.
I appreciate you guys. We'll talk soon.
Right.
Thank you, Jeff.
Good. Thanks.
See you guys.
Let's take a break here on the weekend warm-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back, we'll be talking more baseball. Stick around.
Only in Smashville are opponents welcomed with some good old-fashioned Southern hospitality. We'll give you a hand, cheer you on. Hey, we'll even leave a light on.
At Delta Dental of Tennessee, we know our success begins and ends with providing superior quality service, and that includes serving those who need it most. This year, we're celebrating 25 years of giving back to the community we call home. Delta Dental, along with our Smile 180 Foundation, supports Tennessee's dental colleges and oral health education, children's hospitals, free and reduced cost dental clinics, and other like-minded charities. Here's to the next 25 plus years of ensuring healthy smiles.
game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Tennessee. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the TSSAA.
March 28th, 1988. Phil Niekro, set to celebrate his 49th birthday in 4 days, was placed on waivers by the New York Yankees, ending a 24-year major league career that would take him to the Baseball Hall of Fame. Over 19 seasons in an Atlanta Braves uniform, Niekro claimed 266 of his career 318 victories and was a member of the inaugural team in Atlanta in 1966 after spending the previous 2 seasons in Milwaukee. Niekro also pitched briefly with the Indians and Blue Jays. That was this day in Braves history. Could have used Niekro out of the pen yesterday, maybe in place of Hector Neris. Wade, it's never good when your ERA is infinity.
Yeah, that's not where you want to be.
No, Neris comes in the 7th, gives up 3 runs without recording an out. Aaron Bummer gave up another as the Padres rallied from a 4-3 deficit to win that game yesterday 7-4 out at Petco Park, despite home runs from Ozzie and from Austin Riley. In fact, Ozzie almost homered twice in consecutive at-bats from different sides of the plate. His shot to left field was pulled back in by the left fielder Brandon Lockridge, no relation to the Tennessee State assistant basketball coach of the same name. But tough start. Well, not a tough start because Chris Sale was nails early on. 7 strikeouts in 5 innings. But the bullpen doesn't quite have the seasoned arms out there that to see, and Neris making his regular season debut for the Braves, a guy that Wade has some familiarity with, having been at Houston previously. Not a good day for him, obviously.
Yeah, and it's one game. So I mean, you got 161 more, but never good when you already got bullpen issues. And we just talked about bringing in. Who's our guy we just brought in? Name completely blanking on me.
Oh, Kimbrel?
Yeah, we just we mentioned the bullpen, and we kind of were thinking of fonder, happier days, and then on opening day, kind of get a tough gut punch there as San Diego pulls away down the stretch.
And it's like you said, it's game 1 of a 162 game schedule, and you don't want to overreact. I mean, you had to throw him at some point. I don't know that there was necessarily a point that you could have thrown him that would have been, less damaging, but he's got to get folks out, and it happens. Everybody gets got at some point. It's a little more glaring when it's the opening game and you're leading and then you're not, and that kind of thing. A lot of things get magnified, but again, it's one game out of 162. They will play again at 8:40 tonight. Ronaldo Lopez going to the bump for Atlanta. It will be Dylan Cease for San Diego. And I kind of like the timing of this because they play at 8:40. It's UT and Kentucky at 6:40. So hopefully we can go out of one right into the other. Should be a fun night. Meanwhile, the Astros looking to get to 2-0 after their 3-1 win last night over the Mets. Framber Valdez making his 4th straight opening day start. Answers with 7 shutout innings, and the Mets put the tying runs on, and Josh Hader says, don't worry about it. Strikes out Juan Soto for the final out of the game.
Yeah, it was good punch out there. A little nervous at the finish. Houston got the runs early, and you're wondering, will they hold up? And they kind of had a little bit of shakiness there in the ninth, but good to see Mr. Soto end up, going back to the dugout with his tail between his legs. There was a good punch out. It was a good win for Houston. I mean, just starting off, was floating in and out of that game most of the afternoon. And we talked, about Cam Smith. He gets a hit right in his very first at bat. He's your favorite
on his
to win.
first pitch.
Yeah, first pitch. He's favored to win the AL Rookie of the Year, which would be nice to stick it to the Cubs a little bit. So at least for one day, we're flying high. You can't go 162-0 till you win the first one. So we'll see what today brings.
Absolutely. Today, 7:05 start. It's Tyler McGill going for the Mets. Hunter Brown, who kind of had an up and down season for the Astros last year, getting the start tonight at home. So
yeah, be nice to punch it back. It was cool. Yesterday they had Biggio and Bagwell, who is kind of the genesis of my Astros fandom as a wee lad, and they were sitting behind home plate. Man, they look old. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you that right now. But they were having fun, and they were soaking it in. It was good to see. You always, especially if you're at home, you want to get that win on opening day.
Absolutely, and maybe that's what the Braves were saving it for. Meanwhile, the Dodgers getting back stateside, breaking out their World Series championship unis. That's pretty sweet looking. I gotta say, I did not see any highlights of them last night, but I'm looking at this picture of Shohei Ohtani, who homered again yesterday, his second of the season, in their 5-4 win over Detroit. Yeah. The gold print, that's a sweet look. I can't even hate on that, man. They rolled out the trophy. Ice Cube drove the trophy out onto the field, and they broke out their gold print jerseys. So the Dodgers are now 3-0.
Dodgers 3-0, kind of doing what they do. This was in a weird way. This is the one game I watched at some point, some shape, form, or fashion, nearly every game yesterday, but didn't see any of the Dodgers. Did obviously see the dong from Ohtani. Tommy Edman has already got 2 dingers on the year too. So I mean, they're not quite the well-oiled machine just yet, but they certainly look the part of the defending champs, besting Screwball on opening day. Yeah,
the slugger Tommy Edman.
Mm-hmm. Just what you dream of, right?
Exactly. Who didn't see that coming? Yeah. Let's take a break here as hour 1 finishes up of the weekend warm-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back, let's talk a little hoops. Let's talk a little football. Stay tuned.
Hi, I'm Dr. Vilai Saisuka, CEO and founder of Premier Foot and Ankle Centers of Tennessee here in Murfreesboro. We offer foot and ankle care from ingrown toenails to diabetic foot wounds. We also fix ankle fractures and things like that.
Call us today to schedule an appointment. We look forward to seeing you.
Because here at Premier Foot and Ankle, we believe that
the journey begins with happy feet.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today. Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Hour number 2 of the weekend warm-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, starts right now. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. We talked a little bit about this game yesterday as Belmont headed to Harrisonburg, Virginia for the quarterfinals of the WBIT against James Madison. The Lady Dukes, I guess, coming in 30-5, won the Sun Belt. They did not win the Sun Belt, or else they would have been in the NCAAs. But they were undefeated.
Didn't win the tournament, at least.
They didn't win the tournament, but they were undefeated in regular season play at 18-0 in Sun Belt Conference tournament play. Belmont didn't care about any of that. The Bruins went on a 39-4 run over the second and third quarters and doubled up James Madison 90-45 to clinch a spot in the WBIT semifinals. They will face Villanova at Hinkle Fieldhouse Monday up in Indianapolis. Just dismantled them. Again, James Madison 30-5 coming into this thing. Belmont improves to 25-12 with this win, their largest margin of victory of the season for the Bruins. They hit 18 threes on the night.
That'll do it.
Yeah, that will typically do it more often than not. Yeah, that's just a fantastic performance for Belmont, and want to continue to give them their props because they took out a really good Middle Tennessee State team in the opening round of this tournament. This is the deepest postseason run for Belmont since they went to NCAA Division I play, and they are at least going to play in the semifinals of this WBIT tournament. They'll play Villanova.
Yeah, obviously you want to be in the big dance, but if you're going to sign up and strap up for a postseason tournament, you might as well give it your best effort. And, slip by MTSU. Our Lady Raiders fell. They win that one by 13, but really got a scare over the weekend from Northern Arizona, 81-80, but absolutely no doubt. And, 13 threes, usually.
18,
excuse me. Yes, 18 threes. Not quite, the 25 that Alabama put up last night, but that's a pretty good effort. That was a season high for them, as you might expect, as they cruise to that win.
Yeah, big win for the Bruins there on the road. Congratulations to them.
And James Madison only lost one home game all season, too. So, they went in their house and kind of stuffed them.
Yeah. Walk in your trap, take over your trap, right, Wade?
Essentially.
There was a final in the NBA last night that apparently Wade saw live. I saw it. I saw the last of it on a video earlier today that I don't know that we can do justice to by talking you through it. So we're going to have Mark play it. But here's the deal. The Bulls at home were trailing the Lakers 115-110 with about 13 seconds to play. That should set it up. Mark.
Bulls have to hurry. Get it into Vucevic. Quick pass to Williams. Big shot for three. Good. 2-point game, 9.8 left. Oh, who's scored? Diddy to steal, right for the lead. Yeah! Big time players, big time plays. Kobe, Sub-Zero, bang. What a wild sequence, and the cardiac shot before that. Here's Reeves. Reeves straight to the cup, lays it in to take the lead. Bulls are out of timeouts. 2 seconds left. Giddy for the win. Oh my God! I cannot believe this. Elizabeth, I'm coming, baby. Oh, no.
I don't know what's more exciting, the play on the floor or the call of the play on the floor, but the Bulls hit 3 threes in the final 12.6 seconds to pull out a 119-117 victory over the Lakers, and weighing heavily in that outcome was a huge turnover by LBJ right there to set up that second three. I mean, that was just careless.
Careless turnover, and had a shot to block Giddy's attempt from half court. And I don't know why he kind of olayed there, but I mean, he was ready to swat that thing. Absolutely bonkers, Mo. And I got a couple dings, and it said turn over to the Bulls game ASAP. And just in time to see the turnover, see the second three, and not in that clip. You got Stacey King absolutely losing his mind alongside my good friend Adam Amin, who's the Bulls play-by-play announcer. And the whole timeout is just absolute pandemonium in the United Center. And so you thought the game was over based on that. And then when they flashed the time back up, I was like, man, there's 6 seconds left in this game.
Plenty of time for Austin Reeves to cruise in for a layup.
And you heard Stacey King. He said, well, I told you. And it's like, well, you were celebrating a second ago. But then it was absolute bonkers. And unfortunately, an instant meme was cut off right at the end of that, too. They panned to the most sad Lakers fan you've ever seen, with Giddy hitting the three. And Stacey dances on his grave and says, "G'day, mate," right in his face. It was epic and all-timer. That was worth a year's subscription to League Pass for that shot alone and that sequence. And Giddy, after the game, said he had never even hit a buzzer beater before, let alone one from half court. Absolutely bonkers finish for the Bulls, who are suddenly surging and may potentially play their way up to as high as the 7 seed if they continue this run that they're on.
Meanwhile, with that loss, the Lakers are tied in the Western Conference with the somewhat coachless Memphis Grizzlies as they come to town tomorrow night over in Memphis.
Yeah, double victory in a sense. You got to see the Bulls enjoy their moment, but also for the Grizz, who had a chance to take care of business, but clearly did not do so, losing by nearly 20 last night to the Thunder. But the fact was, yes, the Lakers catch a loss too to keep them right there, and that game will be massive coming up at the Grindhouse on Saturday.
A lot of intrigue, obviously, for standings purposes, for coaching purposes. A lot of eyes going to be on Memphis coming down the stretch here, I would imagine, after making that move. So very, very intriguing stuff. Our friend in Lebanon, Tommy Bryan of the Wilson Post, reporting Cumberland football has added a game for the 2025 season. The Phoenix will open the year at Tennessee Tech. Will be the first time those two programs have met since 2013. That game drew 12,000 and some change. This will be the 15th time Cumberland and Tech have played. Again, the first since 2013, and just the second time since Cumberland restarted football back in 1990. They had also played in 2007. Cumberland 7-3 this past year, 3-3 in Mid-South Conference action. And ought to be interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you get a check for that? I mean, because if you do, it may not be, $5 million like we're seeing some of these other schools get. But I mean, if you're getting a little slush fund for the Phoenix, that's got to be a good thing. And, kind of renewing. I know Tennessee Tech obviously has reached a much higher level, but kind of geographically, if nothing else, it's a close rivalry.
There should be a lot of interest in that ball game, I think, just like you said, because of the geographic proximity between the two. But yeah, you would like to think an NAIA program would be getting some sort of a check from an NCAA Division 1 / FCS program to come to their place and play. Tech was part of a 4-team tie at the top of the Big South / Ohio Valley Conference last year. So you're talking about co-conference champion Golden Eagles taking on visiting Cumberland in that season opener on August 30th. So,
and we got to get, we'll have to go back and check the box score. Might have just missed him, but, you said Tech in 2007. That might have been around when our guy Nick Campbell was punting for the Golden Eagles. We'll have to get his take on the rivalry there. Now the Giles County boys basketball coach.
Highly regarded punter. Wasn't he like I don't know if he was an All-American or in the running for All-American, a preseason All-American or something. He was quite the punter at Tech, all seriousness.
He was a great punter in his own mind and, yes, on the field as well. I mean, he had the goods to back it up as well. Was solid in the OVC for them. And Giles County's produced. They got a couple of kids on the Cumberland roster. You know how that game goes. We'll see if they're on the roster this time, the time season rolls around. But Trayvon Dangerfield and Amarian Sizemore currently suited up for the Phoenix. So could have a lot of local flavor, and that seems like a nice little matchup. Both teams should probably get everything they want out of that.
Yes, should be a good draw and a good matchup there, like you said. More football. Jeremy Pruitt in the news. Jeremy Pruitt making news. The former Tennessee football coach has sued the NCAA for making him a sacrificial lamb and conspiring with the University of Tennessee, suing for $100 million for lost and future wages. And the NCAA made him possibly the last coach in America to be punished for impermissible player benefits.
Poor fella.
Yeah, it's a tough. It's hard. Anyway, he says that Tennessee was paying folks before he got there.
Well, I mean, I don't know that anyone would disagree with that.
And I mean, I'm not necessarily going to argue with that point, but I don't know that anybody was paying them in McDonald's bags. I don't know.
His tactics were the only thing that perhaps a little off.
Yeah, Pruitt's lawsuit says Chancellor Donde Plowman told him, "Jeremy, we know you haven't done anything wrong." I imagine that's going to get some play here over the next while. So, yeah, Jeremy trying to secure the bag, clearly.
And Tennessee fans, you went from this high when you hire him and you're thinking things are going to be great and the grass greener on the other side. And then now you're sitting here today and you're feeling really good about your program. You're like, this dude, we completely forgot about this guy. Why do we got to hear his name again?
We really felt like we were done with him.
The old MTSU guy, right? Back in the day under Boots.
Yep. Spent 2 years over at MTSU before transferring to Alabama, I believe. So, yeah. Like you said, I'm sure a lot of UT folks thought they were done with him. He got a 6-year show cause penalty out of those infractions. Served as a defensive assistant with the Giants in 2021, and then went back to the Alabama high school coaching ranks to teach physical education and coach junior high basketball. Doesn't really say what he's doing at this moment other than suing the NCAA. But this is going to be interesting. This just in, I don't think he's going to get $100 million out of the NCAA.
No, the NCAA is kind of toothless in a lot of regards, but this feels like one. They're not going to be able to. They're going to be sitting pretty. It feels like this is not baseless, but going to be untapped claim for Mr. Pruitt.
Yeah, I wish him luck, though. I mean, again,
yeah, might as well
shoot your shot, right?
Yeah, even if you get a couple mil on a settlement, it's not the end of the world, I guess. Better than teaching middle school math.
Jeremy trying to secure the bag. Dion has secured the bag, and I'm sure it's a Louis Vuitton. Colorado and Coach Prime have agreed to a contract extension that will theoretically keep him in Colorado through the 2029 season. And the new agreement will make him one of 9 coaches now making $10 million or more at the collegiate level. Kalen DeBoer, fresh from one of these things, is not like the others based on last year's performance. Mike Norvell, Ryan Day, Lincoln Riley, Steve Sarkeesian, Dabo Sweeney, and Kirby Smart each made 10 mil or more last year. Bill Belichick comes in at the 8-figure level for North Carolina for the upcoming season. And now Dion, again, 5-year, $54 million deal. He will make $10 million next year and in 26, 11 in 27 and 28, and 12 in 2029. Supposedly, this makes him the highest paid coach in the Big 12. Keep in mind, Colorado is 13-12 in 2 seasons under Coach Prime.
Yeah,
So,
not a flashy overall record, but we obviously are talking about a team that was about as downtrodden for as much history as they kind of have. They were in some dark times, and that's good for Dion because just you keep raising that bar a little bit. Everybody knows that you're liable to potentially bolt at any minute. You can play that to some healthy pay raises as you kind of increase your cachet in college football here.
yeah. Again, he was mentioned with some vacancies this past year, including one of his former professional teams, the Dallas Cowboys. Colorado also noted that they have seen an 18% year-over-year increase in applications from out-of-state students. So Dion isn't just good for football business. Apparently, he's good for business campus wide. And after signing a 5-year, $29.5 million deal to begin his career in Boulder, he was going into the 3rd year of that deal, and I guess they felt like, hey, we need to show our guys some good faith. And did.
Yeah, I mean, it works out perfectly for him, and I suppose Colorado too, because like I said, you can play the dangling carrot of leaving to your advantage, and then Colorado, you're kind of in a spot where, I mean, you can't deny the results. This will be an interesting year, of course. Not having Travis Hunter and Shador, you figure there will be at least a little bit of a talent drop off, but if you can still scrap together another solid season, kind of show those bona fides at coaching. I mean, I feel like we're going to perpetually revisit this story because they need him desperately, and he can kind of keep cashing in as that needs is still there.
Absolutely. I mean, and, congrats to him. Again, 13-12, but like you said, that program was kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel before he got there. So obviously he's shown some improvement and hoping to keep that trending upward. So Dion, your latest $10 million man in college football. Great for him. Let's take a break here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we return to the weekend warm-up, we'll be joined by DUANTE ABERCROMBIE, the hockey coach at Tennessee State University. Stick around.
Hi, I'm Riley, a certified physician associate here at Premier Foot and Ankle Centers of Tennessee. We have a couple locations, Murfreesboro, McMinnville, as well as Franklin. We treat people of all ages. We're excited to get you back on your feet and hope we can help you today.
Call us today to schedule an appointment. We look forward to seeing you.
Because here at Premier Foot and Ankle, we believe that
the journey begins with happy feet.
You're seeing the signs too, right?
What signs?
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily, as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Weekend warm-up continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. We are anxiously awaiting the arrival of Tennessee State hockey coach DUANTE Abercrombie. It was announced a couple of years ago that TSU would be instituting a hockey program, and about a year after that, they reached out and hired a coach, DUANTE Abercrombie. And the program is in the news again this week, and that was kind of what prompted us to reach out to Coach Abercrombie, who is now with us. Coach, thanks for joining us. Good afternoon.
Oh, thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. As I was saying, did you know that a $10,000 donation was coming from Ben Crump this week before it was announced, or how did that play out?
Yeah, sorry. I'm in a Minneapolis hotel, so let me know if the connection's all right.
Oh, so far so good.
All right, perfect. Yeah, it's that's just goes to show you how small the hockey world is. There's a former family that I've worked with in the past that just happens to be connected with Ben Crump Law and said this is an individual that you should reach out to. And within a few minutes of the call, he was like, I absolutely want to support. Ben Crump Law mentioned to us that they wanted to support and they wanted to post. Like it came from nowhere. But I'm not surprised because so many people want to see Tennessee State University hockey be successful. And I guess Ben Crump's just one of the first to jump on, but there's plenty of people right behind.
Got to make you feel good that there is so much support behind a program that has yet to hit the ice.
I knew that was going to be the case, though. When Nick Guerrero called me last December, actually not last December, 2 Decembers ago, speaking about the program and the possibility of me joining as the future head coach, I knew the type of support that was out there in the hockey community. I knew what this meant to a lot of people, not just in the hockey space, but in general population for a program like ours to begin. It's a level of visibility that a lot of people have been looking for, and I'm happy to be the person that's in charge with the task of being the head coach.
When the program was announced back in June 23, I guess the concept was that it would begin as a club sport and then it would move into NCAA competition. Is that still kind of the path that you all expect to follow, and is the timetable still to get on the ice for 25-26 at this point?
Yes, 25-26 is absolutely when we plan to play. This upcoming October is when we're supposed to drop the puck on our inaugural season. And ever since I've signed with Tennessee State, us being an NCAA Division I school, NCAA Division I has been all that we've been focused on.
How is recruiting going?
Recruiting is going very well. Obviously, recruiting is a lot of miles. Have traveled quite a bit over to, obviously, as far west as Vancouver, and as far east as the East Coast, Washington, D.C., and up through Jersey and Boston. So it's been really, really good. The respect on the road is still there, not only just for Tennessee State, but just for the sport of hockey and hockey in the South. And then the conversations, even if over the phone, everybody's excited about having an opportunity to be a builder. Like how many times you get a chance in your individual careers to truly build something from scratch and being a part of starting a legacy that will live on forever. And these individuals, their parents, their advisors, even their coaches, that's what they want. They want these kids to have an opportunity, or these young men to have an opportunity to be trailblazers, because many of them already are trailblazers in their own right.
Coach, kind of having said all that, how much has your head been spinning trying to juggle as many plates, not only recruiting, but also just trying to lift this team off the ground? And I guess, if you had to assign a percentage to being quote unquote done and getting this thing fully formed in your mind, or give us an idea of kind of where we're at in that regard.
Well, it's kind of like watching a Ferrari drive down the road at 200 miles an hour. Like, it looks like the wheels aren't even spinning. Like, that's my head right now. It's literally doing circles. Just got off the phone with possible or having donor conversations, and right after this, heading to go do some media for the National Hockey League, because they want to help tell our story as well, and some other stuff that I'm helping to support. Like, that's the weight of this moment. That's the for lack of a better term, that's what we have to bear at Tennessee State. Like, we knew what type of lift that it was going to be, but we take it day by day. We take it moment by moment. We make sure that each call is intentional. Doing interviews like this, we make sure that, do not disturb, because we want to stay present. But there is a lot that has to get done with recruiting and admissions and all of the admin stuff that happens behind the scenes. And then again, the donor support and, public relations, all of these things. And then we are human beings. Like, you have to sleep at some point in time. You got to make a meal. Like, I'm telling you, I'm looking at a meal that I haven't eaten yet, because, just going from call to call to call. But that's what's necessary. Again, you only get a couple of these opportunities in your life if you're lucky. Some of us never get an opportunity, but this may be my only one to be able to build something from scratch. And if I got to miss a couple meals or a couple nights at home with the family, or spend my own money on recruiting, like, it's what's necessary.
It sounds like the support is obviously there from a donor perspective. I'm also very intrigued by, the NHL and some initiatives kind of getting involved there. But I'm also just flat out curious, kind of student body wise, how difficult, or is it difficult? Is the buzz kind of still there? We know it was there at launch. And how do you kind of maintain that student momentum for a product you kind of can't reach out and touch just yet?
Well, that's the biggest thing. Like, you can't really reach out and touch it yet. But getting on campus and speaking with the individuals on campus about just what is your understanding of hockey, and it's hard to gauge their interest right now. It's hard to really build that buzz right now, because we still have spring semester and then the summer. But next, obviously, August and September, when the players are actually on campus, when there's the apparels walking around campus, when you're sitting in class with individuals that have come to this institution to be educated and also are going to be playing on the hockey team. Now that's where the buzz really comes from. It's no longer you're being told about something that's coming in the future. This is actually here, and it's happening as you're on this campus. So is it a hard conversation? I'd say yes, with the individuals on campus, but off campus, the alumni, we're speaking often with the alumni, that type of support, because they're not on the campus. Those individuals are ready for. Those individuals want to purchase jerseys and tickets. So that buzz has been really good also.
Yeah.
I want one of those sweaters myself, I do believe, Coach. We're going to try to get up an image of that and you modeling it. But DUANTE Abercrombie joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Coach, when you talk about we knew how heavy the lift was, did you really know how heavy the lift was going to be? I mean, have you gotten into it? And geez, this is a lot. I mean,
did I know exactly how hard? No, but you know that you're in for a battle. You know that you're in to do something that's never been done before. It's like trying to put on weight as a bodybuilder. You don't know which day you're going to be able to bench past whatever your last max was, but you're building each day to make that day greater than the day that you just had. And that's the confidence that I have to walk in every single day with, knowing that I have a support system around myself, knowing that I have somebody that's been at the school for multiple years in Nick Guerrero that understands the inner workings of TSU and also the athletic department, knowing that we have people that are willing to pick up the phone and advocate for us outside of ourselves. Again, you don't know what calls you may ask somebody to make. You don't know which person you may ask somebody to send an email to, but you know that those connections are there. So again, and I think it just comes from my past, having done things that traditionally people that look like me aren't capable of doing. Many people would say that those were impossible lifts and those were able to be achieved. And here's just another moment that we have to dominate.
Talk about your past, Coach, for those who may not be familiar with prior to TSU, your background. What have you been involved with from a hockey standpoint that got you to Nashville, to this situation?
Well, it started for DuPont. Inner city program in Washington, D.C. is the oldest diversity program in the entire world. The person that started is actually in the USA Hockey Hall of Fame. Neil Henderson started the Cannons program a long time ago. And he, on a daily basis, would meet you with positivity and honestly a perspective that many of us didn't get. Like, I was born to a single mom, 19 years old when she had me. Dad had issues and ended up in places that you don't want to end up. And I didn't have a relationship with him growing up. So that was my start. That was my introduction to hockey. But I got to experience hockey as myself, like my entire team. Well, pretty much my entire team was Black inner city kids coming from, I guess you could call it, rough backgrounds. It's hard to say that because I loved my upbringing. But when I actually had a friend when I was in high school get dropped off at my house, picked up from my house, and his dad told him, "Yeah, you're never going back to that house ever again." I was allowed to go visit him at his place where his parents felt comfortable, but he wasn't able to come to my neck of the woods. So again, that was my upbringing, but it went from Fort DuPont, then it went to Gonzaga, which is just high school hockey. I had a couple friends end up playing Division I college hockey and pro hockey from there. But I think that it really took a turn for me when one of my former high school teammates ended up playing in the Capitals development camp. So I had the opportunity to coach Nashville's development camp last summer. That same level of player or competition is where he was competing. I'm like, you know what? I used to sit next to this dude. Like, I know that I can compete at that level. I may need a little bit more training, but I can compete at that level because I see somebody that I know personally competing at that level. And that's when I started to train and then eventually played a little bit of pro and then turned into coaching. And it was, I guess, 7 years ago that I really took coaching serious and started doing it professionally. And I've gone from youth hockey, Washington Little Caps, prep school hockey, Gonzaga College High School and Georgetown Prep, NCAA D3, Stevenson University in Baltimore, a foray in many different programs and opportunities in the NHL with different clubs, Arizona Coyotes, now the Utah Hockey Club, the Boston Bruins at the Scouting Mentorship Program, Washington Capitals on the Black Hockey Committee and running the Rising Stars, and the ultimate job, which was a dream come true, working for the Toronto Maple Leafs as the coaching development associate, which essentially I'm an assistant coach for all three teams. I did over 120 pro games that year, whether it's pre-scout, being on the bench, 5-on-5 eye in the sky, practice planning, making adjustments. Again, a kid from a single mom, 19 years old when she had me, Washington, D.C., had the keys to Scotiabank Arena and was able to walk in whenever I wanted. Like, that was powerful. And then coming from that, it was like, what do I do next? And Nick calls and I was like, this is it. Like, there's not even a question. Like, we talked in December and he could tell in my voice that, all right, I'm in. If you want to sign me right now, I'm absolutely in, because this needs to happen for hockey, because hockey's ready for it. And so is the world.
There it is. There is Coach Abercrombie in the TSU hockey sweater. And yeah, I'm going to have one of those, Coach. So when those become available, let me know, because we're in. Just how exciting is it? Obviously you've got a lot going on, your head is spinning, but as you realize that in October you're going to be putting a team on the ice, just when you stop and think about that for a minute, and the fact that it will be the first HBCU hockey team, just with everything that you've done in your background, what is the degree, what is the level of excitement around the fact that you are the architect of this?
Oh, it's going to be one of those extremely emotional. I don't even know what that moment honestly is. It's sometimes you can, the moment you're extremely emotional, or the moment is you're just frozen. But either way, I know that there will be a reaction from me, and rightfully so. Being born and raised in an HBCU family, having attended an HBCU myself, meeting my wife at an HBCU, my cousins, and I know tons of people in the HBCU space. Like, that level of culture and it's just different. I'm not saying it's better. I'm not saying it's worse, but it's different. And there's so many different opinions and different ways of living that all love hockey. That's one thing I got to experience in many different markets, even with the Nashville Predators. Everybody's allowed to enjoy the game their way, for the most part, especially when it comes to the big clubs. And I think that it's starting to trickle down to junior hockey, the NCAA, youth hockey, where people are allowed to be themselves in this sport. And that's coming from traditional hockey players or hockey families, and non-traditional hockey players and hockey families. And that's why when we drop the puck in October, the representation that's going to be there is something that we can't even really predict, because this touches home for so many more people than we could ever imagine.
Coach, you were talking about the Northeast and talking about college hockey. I got to ask, did you get a chance to watch at least the finish of Cornell, Michigan State? And for those, non-Spartan fans, can you kind of paint the picture? Because it would be really sweet. I'm just already envisioning, we got a long way to go, but TSU pulling off a stunner like that, knocking off the number one team, is something I think would be so awesome here in Nashville.
Well, I didn't get a chance to watch the game last night. I was actually helping out there's some programs that run that are pretty much like Fort DuPont, that run here in the United States, and I believe there's one in Canada. I was sitting with their director boards and trying to help them through some of their processes. But I have heard about it, and I sat with two very prominent Michigan State alums earlier today, and they were pretty bummed and still talking about it. I can only imagine when I get a chance to go see what happened, something wild. But you said it was the Cornell game, right?
Yeah, Cornell wins with about 10 seconds left, and I'm a Michigan fan, so I just got to twist the knife a little bit. So I had to bring up Sparta. Michigan missed the tournament, so I got to live vicariously by Michigan State agony. So I apologize.
Well,
Thank you for humoring me.
If you're a Michigan person, tell Narado, like, hey, like, you're going to get these guys on the schedule. No, that's a joke. Like, Narado is actually a really good guy. He's been a really big supporter of us behind the scenes, and I know that we'll get on their schedule at some point, whether it's up in Ann Arbor or whether they're coming down to Nashville, and we're playing really close to Broadway.
Coach, what is the schedule looking like?
Yeah,
we're already over our games from I guess you could say from a planning standpoint. Just given the situation that we find ourselves in at Tennessee State, a lot of our funding is going to be private. Not a lot of it. Our entire first year is privately funded. So there's certain things you have to do before you can actually execute a game contract. But we have enough game contracts where we will be not just NCAA Division I, but to my knowledge, and things can change because there's always legislation that's changing, but eligible for the NCAA tournament in our first year.
That sounds fantastic. And Coach, it's interesting that this has taken place at Tennessee State here in Nashville, because Fisk just a couple of years ago became the first HBCU to sponsor women's gymnastics, and now this is happening here. Are you speaking with other HBCUs or other people, other schools kind of wanting to follow in y'all's footsteps? Are they in contact with y'all, seeing how this is developing and considering doing so themselves?
Well, I've always believed that HBCUs have done a really good job of educating people from the inception, and now we're at a point where, you have HBCU graduates that are vice presidents of the United States of America. Like, that goes to show that there's a level of achievement that we have reached. Those that have attended HBCUs, regardless of your background, and those people's children now want to attend an HBCU that more directly represents their upbringing. We still offer everything that an HBCU typically offers, but now, we've grown up in worlds where we go to private schools and play hockey and play lacrosse and do gymnastic or tennis and all these other different sports. So the offerings on campus, I think we're doing a really good job of growing with our alumni. So Fisk having a gymnastics program is unreal. I actually follow them and shot them a couple messages as they had their recent success. I can't remember her name, but one of their athletes posted a perfect 10 not too long ago, probably, 3-4 weeks ago. And I immediately shot that out there on my Instagram story because it's celebrating greatness. And that was a moment of greatness that needed to be celebrated.
Coach, I got to ask you don't got to name anybody by name, but is there anybody just strolling around the campus at TSU that has either approached you or you've approached them and say, hey, I could make this team? I'm just curious. I got a feeling there's randomly somebody on campus that could have some hockey chops. Whether they can make the team or not, I guess, is not sure. But I'm curious if you've had any interactions like that.
Maybe no interactions where somebody says that they can make the team, but definitely faculty, staff, and even students that they have experienced hockey before. They love hockey, or their kid plays hockey, or they love going to Predators games, or wherever they come from in the States. They love going to go watch those NHL games. So there's hockey supporters already on TSU's campus, and that's one thing that when I attended Hampton, I used to walk around with my hockey stick and stick handle when I was there. Like, hockey has been on HBCU campuses for years, but finally we get an opportunity to represent on the ice as well.
Coach, I understand that you are in Minnesota for a Willie O'Ree event this weekend. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Just being a part of something honoring the first Black hockey player in the NHL, I guess that's just part of your ambassador type position, the role that you're filling in addition to fundraiser and coach for Tennessee State hockey. Well,
I actually told them this earlier today. Like, it'd be hard for you to see it, but that's me at this kid's age. This is 1997. I attended this same event. It was in Chicago, and it's the Willie O'Ree Skills event. This is all about giving back. I wanted to play professional hockey because I understood that when you get to that level, you now are validated at a point where you can now start to speak on your experiences and maybe help impact the next generation. And then now, obviously, being a D1 coach, having coached in the NHL, I've been blessed to have a platform. I've been blessed to be able to be in positions like this and talk to people like you and be on platforms that allow me to speak about why I appreciate the growth of hockey. So now being able to be asked to come back and be the lead instructor or the one running this entire weekend, it's a full circle moment. Because I sat in those seats. I know exactly what it means to look up with all of this drive and all of this ambition to want to achieve in this sport. And now I get to help the next generation. And that's my lesson to everybody. Like, if you've been blessed to sit in a certain seat, make sure that you're reaching back and reaching to help the next group.
DUANTE Abercrombie, Tennessee State men's hockey coach, joining us here on Main Street Sports today. You can follow TSU Hockey on X or on Twitter at TSU Tigers Hockey. You can follow Coach Abercrombie at BLKHKY. That's Black Hockey for the uninitiated. Coach, thank you so much for spending some time with us today, and looking forward to seeing you guys on the ice here real soon.
Yeah, thanks so much. And if any of your supporters want to help us, TSU Hockey as one word to 41444. Just text that to be able to contribute to our success in our first year.
Absolutely.
Love it.
Coach,
thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much.
All right. Let's take a break here on the weekend warm-up edition of Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back, it'll be the final segment of the day. We'll get you ready for the weekend. Stick around.
Smashville, our opponents welcomed with some good old-fashioned Southern hospitality. We'll give you a hand, cheer you on. Hey, we'll even leave a light on.
The final segment of the weekend warm-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. High on your list of priorities is probably a 6:39 tip-off in Indianapolis, as Kentucky and Tennessee will play each other for the third time this season, and Tennessee looking to break through after dropping both regular season games to the Wildcats. Going to be a must for them to break through if they're going to make it to the Elite Eight. Big matchup tonight.
Big matchup for Tennessee. Big matchup for Kentucky. Feels like, role reversal. It feels like there is more pressure on this Tennessee team than there is on Kentucky, with the new coaching staff, and kind of like Arkansas, who in a weird way, though, despite overachieving this year, found a way to end the season on a real stinker of a note. So, but it feels like all the pressure is on Tennessee, and that has not been a favorable situation for them in many of their postseasons. Tonight, favored by 4.5. Maybe they can buck the trend and slip on into the Elite Eight.
Yeah, I mean, that's for the team that has lost both of the matchups. It does seem like Tennessee is the one under the more pressure. Maybe it's just because they are trying to get somewhere that they've not been, whereas Kentucky has, even though it wasn't under Mark Pope, at least they've kind of been in this position and beyond before. But yeah, a lot of work to do for Tennessee in this one. Again, 6:39 tip. You can see it on TBS. The other early game in this Sweet 16 iteration tonight, you've got Ole Miss and Mississippi State at Ole Miss and Michigan State at 6:09. That one's on CBS. That game will be followed on CBS by Auburn and Michigan. Tennessee and Kentucky is followed by Purdue and Houston in the late game in Indy.
Yeah, four good matchups tonight. Honestly, I think all will be pretty entertaining. And to the point, Kentucky feels like, in some regards, I know it's never good enough for Kentucky fans, but I mean, with a brand new head coach and you're kind of getting somewhere that you hadn't been in a while, that's what I kind of allude to when I say it feels like the pressure on Tennessee. Michigan State, man, they have been on a heater beyond heaters this year. Started the season unranked, and Tom Izzo, you remember him pounding the podium and saying he was going to get this team back to a championship level, or he was going to die trying. Well, the good news is we might not have to worry about losing Coach Izzo, because he might get there 1 year later. That game will be fun. Ole Miss just feels like they are just sensational right now. We've talked about Malik Dia. We've talked about what they've done as a collective team. And Beard just seems to have the magic in March. And, the question will be, can Ole Miss pull it off? And then the question will be, how far can they go if they are successful? Could make a little run there. And Purdue-Houston, kind of, in many regards, the game that only the real college basketball fans probably are going to, appreciate or tune in for. Houston has been flat out dominant this year, but with Smith at the guard position for Purdue, still got a chance. I feel like we're in store for 4 pretty good games tonight yet again.
Had 4 pretty good ones last night. Alabama with those 25 three-pointers that you referenced earlier in the show, knocking off BYU 113-88. The over did come through in that one, by the way. And as Joe Sullivan was texting us, it almost came through by halftime. But
highest over-under posted, shout out to Chris Burno over in Memphis. Highest over-under in a college basketball tournament game in their database, which went back to 2000. So it was literally the highest that has ever been posted, and it absolutely was smashed almost single-handedly by Alabama.
Just about. Alabama will catch Duke in tomorrow's Elite Eight. The Blue Devils kind of flirted with disaster there for a little bit, but eventually came out with a 100-93 win over Arizona in that one.
Yeah, and Caleb Love was begging for Arizona to pull that off. He did not have a stinker. He's been prone to have a stinker or two in some crunch time moments, but he went out guns a-blazing, 35 points. But Duke just too strong. You're right. They went lifeless. The last 10 minutes, their offense, it was like a JV team out there running offense because they were just trying to get the game over with and get on to the next one. But Arizona stuck to their guns and made it a little bit closer than I think a lot of folks would have anticipated over in Durham.
This game kind of ran under the radar last night, as it feels, but Florida with an 87-71 win over Maryland gets through to the Elite Eight.
Yeah, good win for Florida. Condon goes out with the injury, kind of came back in. It'll be a big question mark for his availability coming up on Saturday. And, we say farewell to the Crab Five most likely, but we also perhaps say goodbye to Coach Willard, who seems any minute now that Villanova press release could come out. Great run for Maryland, and they were right there. I mean, a 2-point game at halftime, and then things just fell apart in the second half. Florida kind of steamrolling even without Condon at 100%.
You mentioned it. Arkansas was up by 16 in the second half of this matchup with Texas Tech. I had come off the baseball field, umpired a couple of games last night, came in, sat down, started watching that. It gets to 16, and next thing I know, it's a 3-point ball game because I've dozed off. Anyway, Texas Tech forces overtime, wins it in overtime, 85-83, and like you said, for 10 seed Arkansas, it still feels like a disappointment, the fact that they didn't move on.
Yeah, only Calipari, right? I mean, in his first season, dealing with a slew of injuries, starting at 0-6 in conference play, and then you have a 16-point lead in the Sweet 16.
In the second half.
Yeah, every team, with like 6 minutes to go, they were rolling. And Texas Tech comes storming back. Only Cal, and, hopefully not only Arkansas, but only Cal could find a way to have such a great season and a wild turnaround at the death. Still kind of crash and burn at the end. Texas Tech is going to be a very tough out for Florida, I think, on Saturday.
Yeah. Women's basketball, you've got an in-state matchup as North Carolina
going down.
And Duke. They're playing right now. That's
yeah.
done. What time did they play?
Started at 1, I think.
Oh wow, 47-38 Duke, the final.
I feel the under was in play there. North Carolina was 6 points in the fourth quarter.
Goodness gracious. Carol Lawson getting it done over there for Duke. They will play they'll play the winner of South Carolina and Maryland in the Birmingham 2 region, which you feel like they'll play South Carolina, but we'll see. In the Spokane 1 matchup at 6:30, you've got LSU and North Carolina State, and at 9 you've got UCLA and Ole Miss. UCLA, the number 1 seed, and Coach Yo, you feel like she's going to have the Lady Rebels ready, but UCLA is awfully good.
UCLA, they're some folks' favorites to cut down the nets there, and rightfully so. But I mean, yeah, Ole Miss, who knows? Sneak around the chicken coop, pull off a win tonight. UCLA's favored by 8.5. Stranger things have happened.
Told you we were going from preps to pros. We've had some pros. We've got some preps. The Basketball Coaches Association of Tennessee is hosting an all-star event over at Ravenwood High School tomorrow. They've got 4 games, 2 girls games, 2 boys games. Play starts at 12 tomorrow. It will go back and forth. They've got a girls game at 12, a boys game at 1:15, a girls game at 2:30, and a boys game at 4 o'clock. And the way they've got these rosters set up, they're not easily read. But if you go to bcathoops.com, you can find the rosters and you can see whether or not your favorite player is involved. But again, all-star weekend, I guess, Saturday over at Ravenwood. If you got a high school basketball fix that you need to address, tomorrow would be a great day to do that.
Mm-hmm.
if you've got a minor league football habit that you need to fix, the UFL begins its second season tonight. Actually, you've got the St. Louis Battlehawks traveling to Houston, taking on the Roughnecks. That's a 7:00 kickoff, and you can see it on Fox. Tomorrow, 3:00, San Antonio is at Arlington. And then you've got a doubleheader on ESPN on Sunday with the Michigan Panthers at Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium taking on the Memphis Showboats, followed by the Birmingham Stallions and the DC Defenders under interim head coach Shannon Harris, former Tennessee State quarterback. So, minor league football up and running this weekend.
Chance to so like you said, scratch that itch if you got a hankering for some pigskin this weekend.
There you go. Also, the Nashville Cats will be in action Sunday, I believe, at 5:00. It's either tomorrow or Sunday because I neglected to note it in my notes. But Albany comes to town. The Firebirds are 1-0. The Cats dropped their opener out at Southwest Kansas on March 8th, 40-26. Last weekend, Albany defeated Southwest Kansas 78-20. So if you're into comparing scores, there's that. Let me see real quick if I can nail down when that game is. I think it's Sunday. Come on.
I had not seen that come across.
Yeah. And it's on Saturday. I'm sorry. It's 5:00 tomorrow at Municipal. So Cats and the Firebirds in AF1 play Saturday, 5:00, Municipal Auditorium. So be sure and check that out as well. We'll try to keep you posted on how that goes. Just after the Cats get going at 7:30 over at Geodis, again, the Nashville Soccer Club will go for its 4th straight win when Cincinnati comes to town. And NSC is 4th in the Eastern Conference with this 3-1-1 record that they've been able to put together after that 0-1-1 start.
Yeah, they've been playing very well after a slow start, both team-wise and offensively. Seems like they've really kind of hit their stride here. And, playing at home, I know Cincinnati is a great team, but playing at home, maybe a chance for the boys to kind of put together a result would be nice. A win, obviously, would be fantastic. A loss wouldn't necessarily make me feel horrible, but it also wouldn't make me feel great either. So hopefully you can at least wrap up a point. Trying to pull up some series history here. Last time since he came to town, they did win this match 3-1. So, that's correction. They drew last September 2-2, but prior Cincinnati had won 3-1. So, how about we flip flop that and let's get Nashville a 3-1 win? I would like a clean sheet, but a 3-1 win never hurt nobody.
Joe Willis has been solid in goal all year. A clean sheet doesn't feel like it's out of the realm of possibility for him. So I get greedy. Let's go for the clean sheet. Not many clean sheets for Nashville Predators goalies these days. With that 3-2 loss to St. Louis last night, Wade, I know you'll be shocked to know, but the Nashville Predators have been eliminated from postseason consideration.
Yeah, that money puck percentage finally dropped down to
0.0.
Hey, I'm looking forward to Tuesday. They're going to have animated hockey night in Smashville. It'll be shown on Channel 5. That's about all they got going for them right now. So that's at least enough to get me fired up.
Yeah, they've got Vegas coming in tomorrow night. Yep. And, now that they no longer have the playoffs to play for, it'll be interesting to see how that goes. But, hey, that's going to do it for the weekend warm-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Be sure and join us Monday. We'll see y'all then.